could talk about games played by Brian and Mike. A modern, a retro video game show. Yes, we talk about games and sometimes other stuff like Star Trek. It's a blast, our gaming podcast.
Hello and welcome to another Talk About Games. I'm Ryan.
Oh.
Hey.
Hi, I'm Tony.
How's it going? Can I help you?
I'm doing the episode today.
You're doing the episode?
Yes.
Oh, that's great. Do you even have a game?
Yes. I have a game that's based off some tapes I watch because I talk about tapes and you talk about games.
Oh, you're Tony from Hack the Movies.
I'm Tony from Hack the Movies. You might have heard of me. You might have been on my show several times.
Really? Well, anyway, I have a game that I'm going to talk about today.
Okay.
And that game is Luigi's Mansion.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think this is a really interesting game because this is a GameCube launch title. It came out in September of 2001.
I remember that. I didn't have a GameCube, but I feel like all my friends who had a GameCube had this game.
Yeah, and they had this game because there was nothing else to play on
too.
the GameCube. It's really interesting because I don't think that the GameCube launch was particularly bad, but there's so many things that are conspicuous by their absence.
Okay.
So if either of a Mario or a Zelda game came out with this, everyone would have been fine. Mm-hmm. But Luigi's Mansion comes out in September of 2001. Shortly after September 11th, I want to mention, 3 days later.
And a week before my birthday.
Right.
If we want to keep this a little, it wasn't the happiest birthday, but it was before my birthday.
Right. And then we wait until July of 2002.
Okay.
Before Mario shows up.
That's Sunshine, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not at the top of many people's Mario game lists.
You know what? I bought the Super Mario 3D All-Stars pack from a while back, and I actually played Sunshine for the first time, and it's actually fun, but yeah, I kind of wanted to just skip the Super Mario Galaxy.
One of the things that Sunshine suffers from is at that time in video game history, it was like collect-a-thon. Mm-hmm. It's coming, on the heels of N64 games like Banjo-Kazooie, and just so many games where it was how many things can you collect?
Yeah.
And the red coin collection in Sunshine is a major slog.
Yeah, it is. I like doing it in Mario 64, but Sunshine, I can't.
Yeah.
It's just too much.
It's too much.
It's too much.
I think that the red coins in 64 are very localized. Mm-hmm. It's I get it. I get the star. I go.
Yeah.
In Sunshine, it's you got to go up here and all over, and it's kind of a pain in the butt. But the other thing is you wait all the way until December to put out another Zelda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird those two weren't ready. I guess they thought Luigi's kind of like Mario. It's in that world.
Right.
But I guess that wasn't enough for people.
And no, I don't think it was at all. And then when Wind Waker comes out, it's this compromised cartoony.
Yeah.
That has since become beloved.
Isn't that funny how that happens?
Right.
These things that because we talk about this with movies on our channel all the time. There's these movies that come out and everyone hates, and then years later you find out it's oh, well, we actually really liked it. Just everyone else hated it, but they grow these big fan bases. And I think that happened with Wind Waker.
Yeah, so now Wind Waker's cool. Mm-hmm. You're allowed to like Wind Waker. Yeah. But let me tell you, way back in 2002,
people did not like
People didn't like it. And I think that Nintendo was really scarred by this whole Luigi's Mansion, Mario Sunshine, Zelda the Wind Waker experience because they never did it again.
You mean didn't they make sequels to Luigi's Mansion?
But the Wii comes out.
Oh, you're right.
What do you have? Right? You have Twilight Princess.
You have Twilight Princess.
Then the Switch comes out,
yeah.
and you have Breath of the Wild.
What was the what'd you call it? Paper Mario was on Wii, right? Wasn't that one of the launch ones?
Paper Mario was on Wii. It was early on, but it wasn't the launch title.
No,
Galaxy, you waited a bit.
Yeah, Galaxy, that was a bit.
But they had everybody was like, "Oh, Wii Sports, Wii Bowling. I'm gonna get drunk and play Wii Bowling." So,
that really was the whole like the Wii came out like right before I went into college, and that was like most of college.
I just have to say, I'm not a big drinker.
Yeah.
But the only time I was ever blackout drunk was playing Wii Bowling on. I just woke up. It was. I bought my first house.
Yeah.
And I had people over, and we were playing Wii Bowling, and I had like way too much.
Yeah.
Like I probably should have like seen a professional. And I wake up afterwards in my house that I own.
Yeah.
And everyone is gone. Everyone.
No one stuck around to make sure you're okay. Or...
No, and I'm just laying with a Wiimote in my hand. Like, what just happened? Because there was like, I've never had like missing time or anything. Oh my God.
It's happened to me very rarely, mostly in college. It hasn't happened outside of college.
Well, you have to remember, this is 2006. It's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
So Luigi's Mansion.
Luigi's Mansion. So Luigi's Mansion is a Nintendo survival horror game.
Yes. Which I actually, so I didn't own the GameCube. I didn't have the game. And I remember a lot of my friends talking about it and not liking it, but as like a horror kid who also liked Mario, like I loved like the haunted house stuff of Mario 64. I heard about the game and I'm like, that sounds awesome, to be honest. Like you're going around a mansion, like fighting the boos and whatnot. I'm like, that sounds pretty cool.
Well, what's interesting about it is early on, like the boos are the worst part of the game.
Yeah.
So we'll get to that.
No.
So you start playing the game and you walk into the house and you get startled by a ghost, and Luigi is like very nervous, like even prior. You know, he's not tough like Mario.
Yeah.
And Professor Egad comes. So this is one of those games where we introduce new characters.
Yeah, that happens a lot with these.
Yeah.
Like Luigi and Daisy and all those other ones.
So Professor Egad comes and Professor Egad says, yo, I need you to Mario's stuck in here. He pretty much just like exposition dumps on you.
Would you say Mario is missing?
Oh, I was going to say, not since Mario is missing has Mario been caught more slipping than this, right? That's the issue.
Yeah.
So, Professor Egad says, guess you're a Ghostbuster now, Luigi. And gives him the Poltergust 3000.
Okay.
And I got to tell you, like, this game, from a graphical standpoint, is one of the few times in my memory where I remember gaming really moving forward graphically.
Yeah.
The GameCube is significantly more powerful than the N64.
Yes, it is.
It is the last time that Nintendo had a bit of a supremacy. Like, people could argue that Xbox more powerful versus GameCube or whatever, but the GameCube is definitely more powerful than the PlayStation 2.
Now I recognize, yes. Now years later I recognize that, but I was like a PlayStation 2 kid. I now realize, like, graphically and whatnot, the PlayStation 2 was probably the weakest.
Yeah.
But
it was the best seller. It was
the best seller. It had a shit ton of games and everyone had
Yeah. And the GameCube was hamstrung by the fact that it had those tiny discs. So there were a lot of games that were single disc on other consoles, and then they were multi-disc on GameCube, and that's a problem. But Nintendo was so worried that they were going to fall prey to the problems that Sega did with the Dreamcast and with the Saturn and the Sega CD even before that, the rampant piracy. Right? The piracy in the prior generation, Nintendo was kind of insulated from because of the N64.
Yeah.
But them going to their first disc-based system, they're like, oh, crap.
Yeah, because they did have a lot of piracy. I have a friend of mine who's a little older than us. He was big into like the mod chipping stuff in the 90s. So he would like just pirate his games and copy them.
You know what's funny? Nowadays, you can get a Raspberry Pi Pico, and you have to solder 5 wires and download a thing online.
Yeah.
And you could play every GameCube game
Pretty much,
on the GameCube. And GameCube emulation is super easy now.
Yeah.
So the Dolphin emulator. So you could play this game Not that you should,
No, you shouldn't. I just don't do that.
but you could easily download this game in about 5 minutes and be playing it on a Dolphin emulator.
But you shouldn't. You shouldn't.
But you shouldn't do that.
You shouldn't do that. But if you wanted to.
But if you wanted to, I wouldn't stop you.
We're letting you know that. So if you see someone doing that, you can just rat them out. You just rat them out.
You can tell Papa Nintendo.
Like, I know
about
what
that.
you're doing with that soldering iron. You're playing GameCube.
Right. So, so you're going around. It's survival horror. It has the rooms. The control of this game is amazing because it's the first time we start playing with the C stick, and you control the Poltergust 3000 with the C stick.
Yeah.
So the ghosts will go left. You got to stay with them as you're going. And the ghosts all have a life bar at the bottom. And usually, or on them. And usually what you end up doing is you need to stun them. So you flash them with the flashlight.
Okay.
And then you switch and you use the Poltergust to suck them in.
Okay.
Unlike being a Ghostbuster, there's no traps.
Yeah, there's no
It's the trap and the proton beam.
all in one.
All in one.
All in one. That's more efficient, really.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But you also have a way to go into first person mode. And I think you'll appreciate this.
Oh, yeah.
It's the Game Boy Horror. So the Game Boy Color logo?
Yeah.
It says Game Boy Horror on the bottom of it. And when you do that, you go into first person mode and there might be little mouse holes that you can click on. Or if you do it on mirrors, you may warp back to the beginning, or you may need to do that to kind of hunt out a ghost. So that's kind of like your PKE meter.
That sounds pretty cool. I kind of want to play this game now because I never actually sat and played it at length.
Now, this game isn't just connected to survival horror games like Resident Evil and things like that. It is also connected to the Wario series in a weird way.
Okay.
The scoring system of this game is money.
Okay, because Wario likes it.
And much like the Wario doesn't appear in this game, but much like the Wario Game Boy games, your rating at the end is defined by how much money you are able to take out of this mansion. And you get.
So you're just ransacking the mansion?
You're sucking everything.
Aren't you? I'm just imagine an exterminator comes to your house and don't worry, I'll get rid of those bugs, and they just take your TV and stuff.
But remember, it's his mansion. It's Luigi's mansion.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
So
that
he
makes sense.
Inherits it or what have you. So he's stealing from himself, but he's also stealing from all of these lost souls as well. So the morality of it is ambiguous.
It's very questionable, yeah.
It's questionable. But you're going from room to room, you're finding keys, you're fighting ghosts. A lot of the ghosts have backstory, the portrait ghosts. And when you get them, you collect them in the Game Boy Horror, and then you can see their story. Maybe it was the father or the mother, or the first big boss is the baby. Okay. So you fight most of the ghosts in the mansion, but much like Pokemon Arceus, a game from here, when you fight the big bads, you end up going to an arena, and it's way more like a video game battle and less like a exploration horror
thing. I wonder why they did that. Why they are the villains just too big? They can't fit. Okay, yeah.
And the mansion's very claustrophobic.
Right.
So it kind of lose the reason why it happens. Halfway through the game, it just starts happening. But in the first one, the baby comes up to you, and the baby is like, "You're too big," and shakes the rattle. And then you fight him in the crib, but you're tiny, and the baby's gigantic. The sound design of this game is really good. The music is iconic in a way that a lot of survival horror games don't have, because it does have a soundtrack. Okay. It does have a theme. It does have things that a Mario game would have, but then it has a lot of things that a horror game would have as well. But the ghosts are all very lighthearted. The anxiety and fear kind of comes from Luigi freaking out. The scariest thing in the game is Luigi freaking out.
Yeah.
You're like, yo.
Yeah, because think about it. How scary can a thing in a Mario game really be? Really? Like they all look kind of cartoony and fun. Even Boo just looks like the ghost of Kirby or something.
Yeah. There's not much progression in this game, but there are elemental abilities, but you can only hold one at a time.
Okay, it's one
There's
of those.
a fire ability, a water ability, and an ice ability. And there might be like a ghost that has a frozen heart, so you have to shoot him with fire.
Gotcha.
Or water, you need ice for different things. Like there's a situation where you fight a dog ghost and he has a water bowl, and to get him to come out, you shoot water in the bowl. So, the elemental abilities are primarily used for puzzle solving. But
Okay, I was gonna say, so the Poltergeist 3000, his little vacuum thing.
Poltergust 3000.
The Poltergust, does it play similar to like the water cannon and like Sunshine, where they like developing them?
It's like resistance.
Oh,
like
okay.
the ghost will go over here, and you got to pull the other way.
Okay, because I thought it may be one of those things that they were being made at the same time. Do they play similarly? But
You just kind of lock on.
okay,
But I would say the visuals, the two games, you can tell that they finally had like those morphable surfaces,
oh okay, yeah,
right? Like the liquid in Sunshine or the ectoplasm in this.
Yeah.
I would say that the water ability looks a little like the Flood does,
okay.
but not.
The Flood, that was the name of it. Yeah,
But not like that, man. Oh, and I want to mention that Professor Egad, who gives you the Poltergeist 3000, gives Mario the Flood in
oh, it's the same
Sunshine.
character. Okay,
So they introduce the character, then a year goes by, then the character's back, but then you never hear from him ever again.
even in the Luigi Mansion sequels, he never shows
I think he's
up?
probably in the sequels.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's a 2, there's a Luigi's Mansion 3, and then there's
So this had to have done. I mean, I guess because it was the
was a
launch
launch
title
title.
and everyone was buying it.
Everyone bought
but
it.
it had to have been like critically, like not acclaimed, but
it was critically acclaimed.
oh, it was okay.
People
all
thought
right.
it was amazing. It's just
Yeah.
overall, it didn't sell consoles in the way that a Mario or Zelda game would be.
Oh, okay, got you.
It would have been a beloved game if they were flipped.
No, I agree. Yeah,
Right?
that would have. Yeah,
People would have been like, "Oh wow!" But it's like the greatest tech demo for the GameCube. But the problem is there was literally this game comes out with Super Monkey Ball and Rogue Squadron.
right.
Those are the 3 games that are worth buying. There's like Tony Hawk and stuff, but they were on other consoles. So you get Rogue Squadron, you get this, you get Monkey Ball. And then you wait over a year
That's a tough wait. That is a tough wait for a Mario game.
for the next game that,
Yeah.
for the next big title.
Yeah.
It's like, imagine if you had a summer without blockbusters.
I've had many summers without blockbusters. Blockbuster video.
Yeah.
No,
Oh, of
yeah.
course.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Well, that we almost had a summer without any blockbusters. Godzilla
Right.
versus Kong saved that. But yeah, no, you're right. That is a tough wait for like
Yeah.
a big game.
And I think a lot of the kids that, are making YouTube videos today, or 20 somethings, I should say, making YouTube videos today don't realize how shaky the GameCube was when it was new. It was not, going well.
Yeah, it was because I was there. People were all excited for the PS2 and Xbox. Like younger kids like the GameCube. Like my little cousin loved the game. Like that's when I would play the GameCube the most, when I would go to like hang out over there. But yeah, like teens and up, they like, unless they were like hardcore Nintendo fans, they weren't like super thrilled about it.
Yeah, GameCube was very much like the peak, like Nintendo is for babies system.
Yeah.
Not that, like, if you look at the catalog really on balance, like when all is said and done, the GameCube actually has like a pretty good balance. There's games like Eternal Darkness. There's, but then this game, while it explores a lot of like horror tropes, like it doesn't hit hard enough to engage like a edgy teen.
It did, yeah.
I
would have thought it was like fun, but I wouldn't have like. Now I probably enjoy it more, but at that period of my life, I want to play like actual horror games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got to talk about the boos, because the boos are probably the worst part of the game.
All right.
So we got these fun bosses. We got the portrait ghosts. We got the elemental attacks. We got all this cool stuff. But then, much like Wind Waker with its water collection, it ends up being there's these 50 boos that show up in areas you've already cleared.
All right, it's one of those. All right.
And your little Game Boy Horror like vibrates when you're near them. And then you got to look and reveal them. And they're all like some of the toughest enemies in the game. And they don't stay in one room. So now you're chasing them all over the place, and it just becomes like this tedious because they have too much health. They're all over the place. It's like, I really need to not be doing this.
Yeah, do they still do the thing where they like turn invisible if you look at them?
No. Well, yes.
Okay.
But they all have like names.
Oh.
Like punny names. Like there's one named Underboo.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's
I don't like that they have names. Because now I'm thinking I'm just like thinking of like what they did in their life, and then I'm like, oh.
Everything in this game has a name. And you can go into Game Boy Horror and see all the names and what they're doing.
I don't like that they have backstories either now.
Right? Yeah, you are like this like eternal soul killing. What do you do with them once you suck them up? They're never heard from again.
Well, that was the moral question about the Ghostbusters. It's like, wait a minute, what do they do with it? They just leave them there?
I'm very glad we live in a reality where there's not ghosts, because it gives you all kinds of unanswered questions.
You know, I'm constantly I say that there's no ghost on my show, and most of my co-hosts will tell me I'm wrong. So it's nice to see someone who believes the same thing I do.
Right. Yeah. Also, you got a great shirt color going on here.
Oh, yeah. It's a banana shirt. It's a targeting. Oh, yeah. We're both wearing like blue.
Hi. We're here on Teal Talk.
Look, I bought real quick aside. I bought this for my dad, but it was the wrong size.
Okay.
It was on the wrong hanger. When I went to return it, they didn't have a size, but they had one in my size. So I ended up buying one for myself.
Wow.
And that's why I have banana shirt now.
That's
but
good.
anyway, the booze.
The booze. So there's 50 of them. They're a pain in the butt. They're like the one part of this game where it's like, could this game just be over?
Are they like the Riddler trophies in Batman games?
No, because like, yes.
Okay.
They are, but like this game is short. There's only 4 areas.
Oh.
So they like padded it out.
I do hate padding. I do hate padding in games like that. Yeah.
It's really frustrating. And you could tell they were scared of how short the game was.
Yeah.
Because they added a second quest where everything gets shuffled around.
Okay.
No, I didn't have a chance to play that. But I do think that it having a second quest is like a cool throwback to like NES games and things like that, which is nice. So overall, I mean, this is like the best playable tech demo for any system. The transparency effects on the ghosts, the fluid effects on water and ectoplasm and stuff. The environments are so much better than prior consoles.
Yeah.
It's really impressive. And it was a great title to get with the GameCube.
And it was smart releasing in September because Halloween's like the next month. So it fits with the season. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I recommend it. And, you know, I know we were making the jokes about emulation before, but, you know, it can be hard to find a working GameCube. But the GameCube emulation is excellent.
Have they not like repackaged this or put it on the Nintendo store?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
No. But, I mean, you could go and get the Luigi's Mansion 3.
Okay.
That's out there. So there are options to experience the game, but I think like the original has a charm and simplicity to it that like you start playing the newer games and you have Gooigi and you could turn into like...
Oh, right, I saw that. He like turns into Flubber or something. Yeah,
right. And it's like, if you don't want to mess with that, you could just play this, and it's kind of like a very like straight across example of the game.
The one thing I remember most about Luigi's Mansion is our good friends over at Mega 64 when they used to do those in real life prank videos where they were dressed up like they went to like a haunted ghost tour in a house and they had a guy dressed up like Luigi with a tiny vacuum. And I think you got to show the video. I think he gets kicked out because he keeps running the vacuum while they're doing a ghost tour. That was like that was my favorite thing from Luigi's Mansion was that Mega 64 video.
Luigi just works in the mansion. Nobody else sees anything.
I think he like knocks on thing and does the voice, but I think it's the vacuum is where they're like, all right, buddy, you gotta get out.
And everybody remembers the Mario.
Yeah.
Mario. Because he doesn't really have that many variations.
No, he doesn't.
Like, so there's a lot of that. So get ready for a lot of Luigi going, and Mario, but you'll get into it. You got to kind of look at it with a nostalgic lens.
Yes.
As many of these games are.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So what do you got?
Well, I brought in a new game.
A new game.
Based off.
We don't do that here.
Based off an old property.
Sure.
That's still around and has a new movie on the way, apparently. I played the new Evil Dead the Game.
That's cool.
It just came out by, let me see who put this out. Saber Interactive. And it's part of this ongoing, this new trend of these asymmetrical survival horror games. The big ones are like Dead by Daylight.
Dead by Daylight, Friday the 13th.
Which was my favorite until they weren't allowed to update it or anything anymore because of an ongoing lawsuit.
Oh, wow.
The guy who wrote the first script, look into it. It's a mess. But that was my favorite. But there's also this was more of a shooter, but like Predator Hunting Ground, where there's survivors and a killer, and it's multiplayer. Cool. So this is the latest in that.
I have to ask you a question because this is like a selfish question.
Yeah.
Since we're on the topic of Evil Dead,
Yes.
Do I need to watch Ash versus the Evil Dead?
Oh, I highly recommend it.
That's a good
Do you
series.
enjoy the original trilogy?
Sure.
Yeah, I would say, definitely watch it.
Yeah.
It's only 3 seasons. You can binge it pretty quick.
So it's done.
It's
There's
done. It didn't.
Okay.
But so people are mad because the series ends on a cliffhanger. But if you watch the other movies, Army of Darkness, not so much, but the original ending was, they all end on cliffhanger. So it's kind of appropriate that Ash's story ends on a cliffhanger because his whole life has.
Yeah.
It's got some of the funniest, coolest things in that show. The horror is really good. The characters are really good, which I want to talk about because they're actually in this game. So this game, I was telling you, now this might not be the record or anything, but when I put this game in, the opening logo, let me show you all the things here. Sorry, this would have been on the laptop if the laptop decided not to reboot.
We are looking up things. Did you know that there has been 7 different laptops featured on this show? For a while there, I was just changing them. I would go in another room and I would get a different laptop and put it in front of Mike.
Yeah.
Just
So Evil Dead, the rights to the series are kind of split between multiple different studios. And actually, Ash vs. Evil Dead, they don't disregard it, but they weren't allowed to reference Army of Darkness directly.
Okay.
You'll notice that in the thing. Where they mention time travel and stuff, but they can't tell you the specifics. So the game opens up, and it's a big collaboration between Renaissance Pictures, Studio Canal, and MGM, and even Stars. And there's even more companies within that. And this is the first time these companies have got together to work on one thing. Nothing from the remake is in it, but I'm sure DLC down along the way, they'll eventually work them in there.
Who produced the remake?
Off the top of my head, I can't remember.
Oh, okay.
Wait, it would have been, I think it's Ghost House, which is Sam Raimi's company. Fact check me on that. But I think it's his company because they also produced the remake of The Grudge and stuff like that.
So it wasn't one of the companies that was named in the big
I don't think so. I'd have to well, because they didn't include it, I didn't look it up.
Right.
But no, it's very similar to a lot of those other games. Where you have the group of survivors.
Yes.
And then you have the Deadites.
Yes.
And I want to say the survivors, they get most of the cast back. The girls from the original 3, Bruce Campbell, obviously.
Yeah.
Because he's done playing the character in live action, but he said voiceover he's fine with because he was in Dead by Daylight also. And they get the characters from the show like Dana DiLorenzo, who I have a video with on my channel years ago.
Funko Pop.
Watch my video with Dana DiLorenzo to know the origin of the Funko Pop and what happened. And Pablo from the show are on it. So it's a really great cast. You have several different Bruce Campbells you could pick from. You have old man, the tough guy one, the young one. But basically, how a regular mission goes.
Okay.
You know, you're the survivors. You're on the map. You have to find pieces of a map, which will then bring you to another map, and then you have to get a dagger, and then you have to go to a place and expel the deadites from the world. Like, you got to kill these 3 big demons while other deadites are after you, and then destroy the book, and they're done. And then if you're playing the deadite, you're going around the map as the invisible camera.
Yeah.
You're that. You're going around the map. You're setting up traps where deadites can come out. And again, there's different types of deadites. There's like literally skeletons and evil Ash from Army of Darkness.
Yeah.
Then there's like Henrietta and more normal looking deadites. And then there's like the creepy. The TV show is one of the creepiest demons ever. It's like this pale demon with no eyes, and these like his mouth is pulled up.
Yeah.
And his gums stay still, but the rest of his body shakes. It's the most disturbing thing. You can play as that guy. And you're just trying to stop them from getting to the book. And like, there's cool things where like, you know, there's supply crates where you can get cool weapons. But if you're a deadite and you get there first, you can leave traps. And one of the traps is Ash's hand or the tiny ashes from Army of Darkness that attack him. Yeah, and I think it's a good time because I haven't really found a game that I liked as much as Friday the 13th.
Right.
Like Dead by Daylight, I jumped into that a little too late.
It's funny. Dead by Daylight kind of won the battle.
Like the day we're doing this, I think they just released the Attack on Titan expansion, which I played that game like, how does that work?
Right.
Like, I guess they'll figure out how, but even I was surprised by that.
Because there's like the Titans and the...
Yeah, I don't know how they're doing it.
So they're like, anything is possible for Dead by Daylight now.
One thing that was annoying about Dead by Daylight, I think I paid for some like DLC characters, but then I think they're not available anymore because they were like I think the Stranger Things characters are out of it.
Oh.
I think. But this is the closest I've gotten to enjoying something as much as Friday the 13th.
But this sounds like it's more active than Dead by Daylight. Like Dead by Daylight, you're kind of like like you're just running around.
Yeah, no, you have like actual weapon. Like there's not like an invincible killer in it.
Yeah.
I guess except for the Deadite, but even then, like if you kill, like you can possess, if you're the demon, you could possess a Deadite, and if they kill your body, you could just collect energy and go into another one.
Yeah. But
you're right, because like Dead by Daylight, you can't kill the bad guy. You can kill Jason, but it's super complicated.
Right.
Yeah. But there are different game modes, because I know a lot of people that are kind of getting tired of these type of games.
Right.
Which is not a good sign for the upcoming Texas Chainsaw game, which is by the Friday the 13th people. But I think they took that into account because there are like single player missions.
Right.
Where you can unlock new stuff. And they're actually fun. They play kind of like how... Because they tried this on Friday the 13th. They made these single player missions, but they were like scenes that you had to act out. And it was like kind of fun, but it's not really what you wanted.
Yeah.
These are a lot more fun. The first one is a little too hard. I will say that. And I'm bad at video games. I know that. But the first mission is really, really too hard.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
No checkpoints.
Yeah.
And it could go on for a while.
That's frustrating because like early on when you're playing a game and you're not good.
Yes.
Which we're all not good when we play a game.
No. And yeah.
You spend an hour of your time, you die, and you're like, why would I ever play this game ever again?
It took 2 streams. I played with my cousin the first time. She's a huge Evil Dead fan.
Yeah. And
then I finally beat it the second time. It took over an hour.
Yeah.
But it really was the lack of checkpoints, which I guess could be challenging, but like not for this one.
How is the online play? Are like people like ridiculously good, or is it?
You know, as much as I played, everyone has seemed pretty even.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anyone who's like, because it's still relatively new. There's no one who's like super amazing at it yet. Yeah, I think it plays pretty well. But like I said, there are options. So you can play with like an AI team, or you can play completely AI, or you could do these single player missions. And I think they just added an exploration mode, which
so you just walk around.
Well, that's the thing. So it's actually kind of smart because you can walk around and study the map and know where to go. But to keep it entertaining, even though there's not this one big evil force, they do litter it full of deadites. So it's actually a cool way to like, if you get like a chainsaw that you weren't able to get in the regular game, you can just test it out and like knock all these people out. It's a lot of fun. The one crazy thing is they do work in like the two knights from Army of Darkness.
Yeah.
And it's so there is a medieval castle map. But a lot of times you're playing on the other map, so it's so weird to see like Eric the Red like running around with like a Glock and whatnot. It's so bizarre.
Wow.
Like, he's got like a shotgun. I'm like, that's a character, and never in a million years I think I would see with that.
Yeah.
But no, I think people should really give it a shot. It has everything I like from those previous games. I think it does it really well. Still doesn't really fill the void left by Friday the 13th. But yeah, I'm excited to see what happens because, you know, all these games, they're releasing DLC.
So they're promising updates and things.
They are. So, I mean, say what you will about the Evil Dead remake. I don't know if you ever saw that. It's fine. It's actually pretty decent.
Yeah.
I could see like a lot of people discovered Evil Dead from that movie, so I could see them working in it at some point. But there's a new movie coming out, Evil Dead Rise. I think it had its first, like, it like screened recently. I don't know when it's coming out.
Oh, okay.
So I'm sure they're going to add more stuff to that.
It's interesting that I always saw Evil Dead, Army of Darkness, all of those games like movies as cult films that were like a small fan base that was over here. Not like too small, but not like
they try to go. So the first two were definitely cult films.
Yeah.
And then I think they got big enough because the third one is distributed by like Universal.
Right.
So they were probably like, let's pump more money into it. Let's do it. And then I think it was a big flop. But then that ended up becoming a cult film as well.
But my point is that I felt like the series wasn't huge. But then we started seeing like Ash versus Evil Dead, and we're starting to see all these like new films and remakes and games and licensed crap.
Well, I will say this. I think it's the early 2000s. Like this is, by the way, this is signed by the entire cast. They like the Evil Dead is known for having like 10,000 different special editions of each movie.
Yeah.
And those were all coming out. McFarlane was putting out the toys, the Movie Maniac series with Ash there. And they did start doing video games. They did a horrible one on PlayStation 1, which I think James and Doug played.
Yeah.
But there were two for PlayStation 2, and my favorite was Evil Dead Regeneration. I don't know if you ever played that one.
Oh, I haven't, no.
Like Ted Raimi is his little demon side. That one's a lot of fun. But yeah, I think in the 2000s with the internet and everything, and people finally discovering it is what really blew it up.
So, who are the big horror antagonists?
Oh, you got like in these types of films?
No, like in general. Like if you're talking about horror as a genre, who are the big horror antagonists? It's easy to make a list, right? Because you got Jason, Freddy.
If you're
Pinhead.
going like slashers, it's like Jason, Freddy, that. If
There's
you're going,
a pretty big list. Now, horror protagonist, that's harder.
That is hard. Yeah, because they're usually final girls, but not all of them are like action here. Like Ripley is like an but she didn't become that until the second movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. There are like Ash is like, and even he didn't even become that till the second movie because he's kind of a freaking wimp in the first one. Yeah, you're right. There's not many like action. I guess Jamie Lee Curtis now,
right?
But even then, they had to like they did it once and then they did it again. They rebooted it. But yeah, you're right. There's not a lot of huge like action protagonists that are this popular.
Exactly.
It's like Ripley and him, like that's it, and then maybe Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah, it's like a unique take on the genre to have that type of character.
Yeah,
right. Because you look at horror. Horror is the opposite of power fantasy.
Yeah,
right.
You're right. You're right.
It by definition. So even though these movies and these games subvert that, they're undeniably horror.
Yes. Yes,
which I think is pretty crazy. I wanted to ask you, do you asymmetric games are a type of social game? Do you think that is that like you like social games? Is that like your primary game you like to play, or?
You mean like playing online with people?
Yeah, like the idea, like this game is greatly enhanced by playing with friends.
Yes, I have not played it with like a friend yet. Like my cousin was there as I was playing it. We switched on and off.
Okay.
But no, I did do that a lot with previous games.
Right.
And mostly Friday the 13th. I played with friends, and then I also screamed at children who were also playing it because they took off on a boat and left me behind. I got real heated on Friday the 13th.
Does this game have voice chat?
It does.
Unprotected voice chat.
It does.
That's fun.
I was getting like there was it's probably in my stream. There was one guy who was getting real mad because he was like super into it and like he was like trying to get everything, but like because of that, he kept leaving the group and getting attacked. Right. And he kept yelling at us for like not being there to help him. And I'm like,
it's like we don't play at your pleasure, bro. Like,
you know what's weird about this one? You don't straight up like die. Like you bleed out and then you die, but then your spirit hovers because then someone on your team can collect your soul, go to an altar and revive you, which I don't think I've ever seen before. Usually it's like you bleed out and then you die.
That's kind of cool. It really sucks, especially if the rounds are long.
Yeah.
If you just die and you're just sitting there like, oh, I guess I can go get like a soda or like a coffee or something.
Yeah.
Oh, but it may be over soon, so I guess I can't. So I'm just going to sit here.
I'm just going to sit here and spectate everyone else.
It's the worst.
Yeah.
You never want to do that.
Yeah. I mean, if anything, I guess like leaving this option for you to be revived is what gets people to stop from turning off. Yeah. Because there have been times in the other games where I'm like, well, I'm dead. I'm exiting the game because you can't come back. But I guess this is their way around it. They're like, no, hold on. You might come back.
You might come back. Probably not.
But yeah, that's all I have to say about it. I'll probably be streaming it more on Twitch. I want to see what other stuff they add to it, especially with the new movie on the way. I want to see how they incorporate that. But for now, I think it's a lot of fun.
I wasn't intending to do Luigi's Mansion, but I jumped into it and I was like, oh, wow, there's a lot here. There's a lot more here than I remember. It just being this silly little launch title. It's actually quite fun. And I like Nintendo's take on horror, if you could call it that. But this is the part of the show where we remind everyone of a few things.
Yes.
The first thing is Talk About Games is on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you find podcasts. And it helps us out a whole bunch if you leave us a positive review. If you leave us a review.
Oh, yeah. On my show, I'm just like, you don't have to even be positive. Just make sure you hit 5 stars.
I mean, you can write whatever you want. Just click 5 stars. I mean, whatever. You know, I get notifications. Yeah. I tell everybody.
We all get the note. We're in the same thing where we all get the same notification.
Right? And the Tony reviews for Hack the Movies are pure gold.
Yes. They're either like super sarcastic or they're very angry.
Which is really good.
My favorite one recently is Peg Warmers got a nice review, but they left it on my podcast. They left a review for Peg Warmers on the Hack the Movies podcast feed. I'm like, oh, well, I'll forward it to Kevin.
Yeah, we'll channel that over to him. I also want to mention everyone that we have a Patreon, and we do Patreon exclusive episodes every week. So if you become a patron of Talk About Games, you get twice as many episodes. And we talk about a lot of weird things. It's way less formatted than the actual show. And also, last but not least, check out Tony on Hack the Movies.
Check out Hack the Movies. We also have Patreons and whatnot. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Ryan's been on a couple episodes, although I think the last episode you were on got nuked off YouTube because Hasbro didn't like us reviewing the Transformers
No,
movie.
they didn't. Oh, that's so sad. I
know.
love that.
That episode was doing so well, and then YouTube was like, "Nah, you're done."
No, you can't do that. You're not talking about children's toys on this channel. Be gone.
But yeah, check that out. I know I reviewed the Evil Dead remake, but when it gets closer to the release of the new movie, whenever that may be, I think we might do like a best and worst of the Evil Dead series. So
that
come
sounds
back
great.
For that.
And I just want to mention we have no future plans, but Tony and I recently went up into the ceiling here and wired it for live streaming. So maybe we'll find something to do with all of that next time soon. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you next week.
We are waiting for the Dark Souls of fighting games. Let us have it. We're ready.
Soul Edge has nothing on a lightsaber. Like, I'm sorry.
James Earl Jones comes back.
No!
Oh no! Oh!
I don't think kids trade games anymore.
I need that sense of accomplishment, and it wasn't there. And I think that was a major flaw.
The way they engineer these is just phenomenal.
As much as you're into like the comics, I was very into the toys, so I was on like the message board all the time.